Are the $800 Bathys really that much better than the $380 Momentum 4? I'll start with the build and design. Both look fantastic and they feel great to the touch. The Momentum 4 is more minimalist. It's made out of plastic, silicone, fabric, and artificial leather ear cups. The Bathys, on the other hand, are more decorated and they're heavier, made out of plastic, aluminum, and magnesium, as well as leather and microfiber under the headband. Of the two, the Bathys have the better build. Sturdy, strong, and well put together. This is one area where you can actually feel the value of the price difference. The Momentum 4 doesn't feel flimsy, mind you, but they don't match up. Plus, I keep hearing reports of quality control issues. Heck, my own first pair had the button break. Second pair has been fine for the past 9 months or so. This video is not sponsored. I have product links in the description below, and if you want to help the channel, using those is the best way to do it, outside of hitting like and subscribing. When it comes to controls, the Momentum 4 are pretty much all touch control. You can see there's no buttons or anything on this, it's just plain throughout. On the other hand, the Bathys are all button controlled. I prefer physical buttons, but what you like is really up to you. When it comes to comfort, I enjoy both for different reasons. The Bathys are heavier than the Momentum, coming in at 357 grams or 12.5 ounces, while the Momentum 4 comes in at 295 grams or 10.4 ounces. If you have neck issues, the Momentum 4 will be better. The headband on the Momentum 4 is a little more comfortable too because it's wider. You can see that this one's a little wider than this one, plus the Bathys rounds out a little bit more than the Momentum 4. I like the feel of the fabric on the headband on the Bathys a little bit better, and the roundness has never really bothered me, but both still feel fine. Now, clamping force, how these squeeze on your head when you put them on, feels fine on both, although it's lighter on the Momentum 4 than the Bathys. These squeeze a little bit less than these do. But the real difference is the ear pads. The Momentum 4 has very soft ear pads, which are super comfortable, especially for those with glasses, but they heat up a lot, at least for me. The Bathys have more of a stiff pad, but wider opening inside, and my ears actually fit all the way in. I have large ears, so the fact that they fit in all the way, it's fantastic. I find it super comfortable for that reason. They also don't keep as much heat, so I can go all day long wearing these. So overall, when it comes to comfort, I do prefer the Bathys, but comfort is subjective, so it's a tie. If you're traveling with either of these, take a look at the cases. For the most part, they're pretty much identical. They both fold flat the same way. The cases are about the same size and width, and the pocket scheme is pretty much the same. But Sennheiser's case has some extra functionality. It actually puts the headphones in a power saving mode when they're inside. Sometimes when you're moving them around, they'll connect to your device anyway, which is a little annoying to me. Still, I'm calling this a win for Sennheiser just because of that functionality. This brings me to features, and this is one of the big differences between these two headphones. The Bathys keep things simple. You have noise canceling, transparency, access to your smart assistant, and auto standby. The Momentum 4 go further and automate so many things that it feels like sometimes they're trying to do magic. On-head ear detection that stops and starts your music when you take them off or put them on. Personalized sound, adaptive noise canceling, adjustable transparency, connection management, and sound zones that let you automatically apply certain settings depending on where you are. Everything that the Bathys have and more. And that may be an important consideration for you. Do you want something that is more manual, or do you want something that tries to automate itself around your life? I can 100% say that I regularly use all the features on the Bathys and that I have never had an issue with any of them. The Momentum 4 is a slightly different story, however. I've used all the features here, but not extensively because I just don't have use for all of these features. For example, the sound zones. I'm sure they're useful to some people, but not to me. And not every feature has worked as well as I would like. For example, on-head ear detection is sometimes confused if I'm wearing glasses, or if they're positioned strangely on my head, or if it's too hot. But I will give Sennheiser some credit. They are trying hard, and they've fixed a lot of these issues over time. With all this in mind, on paper, the Momentum 4 wins here just because it has more stuff. But while the Momentum 4 feels more futuristic to me, the Bathys feels just as practical, even if it's more manual. Moving on to noise canceling. The Bathys has two noise canceling modes. Soft, which is good for when you're at home, and Max, which is good for when you're traveling. Meanwhile, the Momentum 4 has a slider that lets you pick how much noise canceling you actually want, plus an adaptive noise canceling feature that adjusts to whatever's going on at the moment around you. Neither has an explicit noise canceling and transparency off option though, which is disappointing. So I've traveled with both of these, and I'm generally happy with both. Although I thought the Bathys were better at blocking noise, even if the Momentum 4 have more flexibility and automation. Both mute human voices to a degree, although the Bathys are a bit better about this. For noises in general though, they're both good enough. Take a listen. Along with the active noise canceling comes the transparency mode. The Bathys here only has an on-off option, whereas the Momentum 4 actually has a slider that lets you choose how much sound you want to let in. As for the quality itself, the Bathys is slightly clearer, but it has a surprisingly high noise floor. The Momentum 4 doesn't have a noise floor, but the sounds are a bit more robotic. Because of that, for transparency, I'm calling this one a tie. Now, if you're using these to make phone calls, here's what the microphones sound like. This is a test of the microphone on the Focal Bathys. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. This is the sound of the microphone on the Sennheiser Momentum 4. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. And finally, this is the sound of the standard Apple earbuds. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Let's talk about sound. Both of these are fantastic for very different reasons, but you have to consider three things: what kind of music you'll be listening to, how long you'll be listening to it, and whether you also want to be watching movies. Both of these use the same codecs: SBC, AAC, aptX, and aptX Adaptive. No LDAC, unfortunately, but you can also connect both directly using either an audio jack or a USB-C port. When it comes to the audio jack, the Momentum 4 have a passive pass-through, which means that you can listen to them using a cable when they're off. The Bathys don't have this, and you actually have to turn them on to listen to them using the audio jack. Still, I always recommend that you turn the Momentum 4 on to get the best sound. I did hear a slight low electrical hum with the Momentum 4 when they were connected this way though. I didn't get that with the Bathys. When it comes to using the USB-C cable, that's how you get the best sound out of both of these, but it's an area where I felt that the Bathys really shine. The Momentum 4 hold their own pretty well when you plug them in this way, mind you. The Bathys sound warm. Not brilliant, not analytical, but still clear and accurate. In Bluetooth mode, it does offer a little bit of bloom and softness, but when you plug them in DAC mode, the response becomes significantly tighter. Now the Bathys have decent bass, but not much sub bass and no real physicality. It does have a lot of body, it just sounds full. With that body comes a very intimate sound that still retains the appropriate timbre, tone, and decay for whatever you're listening to. Great for classical and folk, by the way. This is all helped by their magnesium and aluminum drivers. Magnesium is a higher quality material that has some great sonic properties when used in headphones, similar to beryllium, which you'll find in a lot of other high-end headphones. They don't have a particularly wide soundstage, meaning that it won't feel like you're surrounded by instruments or like you're in the middle of the stage. It'll sound like you're being enveloped by the music itself. It's very smooth, it's not muddy, it's just accurate, warm sound on the go. What most people will notice right away is that the Momentum 4 are just a lot more exciting to listen to. And while everything I listened to with the Bathys sounded great, not everything sounded fun. The Momentum 4, on the other hand, really crank up the bass and the sub bass. If you really want that deep rumble, these are the headphones for it. I don't find it overpowering, but it does feel overemphasized. That's great with some musical genres like pop or hip hop. And if you're listening to an orchestra, you may really feel the rumble of the cellos and the double bass. The decay of notes, especially in the bass, lingers for a while. The clarity on the Momentum 4 was sharper than on the Bathys. This is because Sennheiser also boosted the uppermost registers, which makes things clear, but also a little bit exhausting to me after a while. And that's a key difference for me. When listening to music, I found that the Bathys were more comfortable to listen to for much longer. The Momentum 4 was fantastic, easily among the best Bluetooth headphones out right now, especially at the price. But after about an hour, I start thinking, yeah, I've had enough. The emphasized bass and treble makes the Momentum 4 great for movies. Here, they're just better than the Bathys, more clear, and that low and rumbling bass is just absolutely marvelous for carrying action-heavy scenes and scenes that demand a lot of ethereal ambiance. This is even better if you use Sennheiser's Movies equalizer preset. Now, both of these headphones have apps that include EQs, but Sennheiser goes a bit further by also giving you a personalization feature, which really helps you shape the sound for your hearing specifically. This feature is top-notch, and if you get the Momentum 4, you owe it to yourself to use this. This actually brings me to the battery. Both have decent battery, but while the Bathys will give you between 30 and 40 hours depending on whether you're using Bluetooth or DAC mode, the Momentum 4 will give you a whopping 60 hours. They both have fast charge, so you'll be able to get hours of music in a few minutes if you run out. You can also charge the Momentum 4 while you use it. You can't do that with the Bathys, and worse still, the Bathys have to be on and not charging whenever you want to listen to them. So one more thing I wanted to say about battery is that this one actually tells you how much battery you have left. Double click.
More than 80% battery left.
So the lights show up and the lady says something. Here, the only way to know how much battery you have left is to actually use the app, or hopefully you have something on the phone that shows you how much battery you have left. No question here, the Momentum 4 is much better about battery life. Now, if you want to know which one sounds better, here's how I like to compare them. The Momentum 4 feel like a party. The Bathys feel like I'm relaxing at home. Sometimes I want to be at a party. Eventually, though, it gets exhausting, so I want to go home. And sometimes I'm sitting at home and I feel like going out to party. For a little bit of extra context, I'm not a huge fan of warm sounding headphones. I really am not. I prefer more detail. I prefer more excitement. I enjoy that bass and I enjoy that treble. And yet, the Bathys have completely won me over when it comes to sound. But are they that much better than this $380 and sometimes $300 headphones? I don't think so. But think about this. Wired headphones are universally considered better than wireless headphones for sound, especially at the same price point. The full-cowl Bathys are the only wireless headphones I've seen that are consistently compared to wired headphones instead of just other wireless headphones. Let that sink in. That's how good and nuanced and fulfilling these sound. And that's why I love them. So does that mean that you need to run out and get the Bathys right now? Absolutely not. Better is relative. Both sound fantastic, but for most people, the Momentum 4 will give you hands down the best bang for the buck. My only concern, of course, are the quality control issues people keep talking about and which I've run into. That said, despite my recommendation, I highly recommend that if you can, you audition the Bathys for a few days, maybe a week, just listen to them for a week, because it takes that long to really start to appreciate what they bring to the table. If you want to deep dive into either of these, then here is my review of each. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. And with that, thank you for watching and take care.